Rampage across Ord Mantell. Well, not really. But for the first time since Order 66, the Bad Batch takes on a familiar task. In a sense, they have a military mission to pursue. Desperate for intel on the mysterious pursuer from the previous episode, Echo attempts to leverage a contact from the Clone Wars. Of course, it would help if he knew what Sid actually looked like, or even what gender he or she might be. But soon their connection is revealed, and a new mission awaits the Batch.
Setting out after the mysterious Moochie, the elite military unit find themselves the victims of both bad luck and Zygerrian slave traders. Their only hope lies in Omega? Seriously? Well, this should be interesting to see if Omega can apply her strength and cunning in a situation where the rest of the batch is already in chains.
The first big takeaway has got to be that Wrecker's head is clearly still bothering him. Yeah. And it's definitely something that we're gonna have to deal with at some point.
Right, and does that mean they're gonna have to go back to Camino, do some sort of infiltrate the enemy strongholds? Does that mean they're gonna kidnap one of the Kaminoans to bring them there to sort of fix them or whatever? But it's definitely gonna be something that at least our prediction before the end of the season they'll have to deal with. And of course I have to give you props because you've been calling out since the beginning that Omega is gonna have some sort of latent power, some sort of awareness, and we may have seen that on display this time, right?
Possibly. I mean, it seems like she might have some heightened perception, it's logical thinking. I'm not sure what it is, but it's not the kind of intelligence that clearly, Tech has, right, or even Echo, really. But she's seeing things that the others don't see, because she's the only one who notices or figures out who Sid is.
The other big takeaway, at least that jumped out at me, is that, and I mean, they sort of primed it a bit when Sid refers to them as mercenaries, and they balk it up. But this is the first time since the first episode, first time since the end of the Clone Wars, when the Bad Batch will be able to act sort of as soldiers. I mean, they may not be getting their mission from a government, but they're able to deploy in a tactical way that you can tell they're very comfortable with it. Yeah, especially that I love that scene when it's like, so Tech, what do you think our odds are? It's like, I have no idea. We've never been sent on something like this before. So it's like they clearly want to feel that sense of familiar because they've been cast adrift. And they're trying to figure out who they are, and for a brief second
they lived the same life forever, and now they're having to rapidly adapt. So it was good to see them back, feeling a little more comfortable getting back into their old ways. The first connection is pretty obvious. I think the Rancor. He's pretty hard to miss, even though he's a baby at the time, or she. We're not quite sure what gender it is.
It's difficult to tell with Rancor.
Yes, definitely. But for those of you who don't remember, looking a little bit bigger, but we suspect that Rancor is the same one that Anakin kills in the original trilogy when he is captured by Jabba and drops a big old door right on its head.
Which at the time, we're all cheering, like, yes, evil Rancor is done. But now after watching this, even if it's not the same one, you're like, oh, man. They took this kind of cute little thing and put him through a hard life. But still.
I think the Bad Batch probably would have been best maybe not giving the Rancor back to Jabba's people, because that didn't seem to work out too well.
He could have enjoyed himself in the wilds of Ord Mantell, just sort of running around.
Exactly.
But sticking with the original trilogy, the other thing, and this is sort of a deep cut, but behind the scenes thing, when we're in Sid's place and we're actually looking at her bar, you see the same drink dispensers that were used in the Mos Eisley Cantina in the original film, A New Hope. And completely randomly, two other things. Here are your two bonus facts of that. Number one, those originally, even though these are the animated versions, the original version of those were repurposed Rolls-Royce engine parts. And they were later, a couple of them were taken and flipped upside down and painted to be the heads of IG-88 in The Empire Strikes Back. IG-88, of course, you probably know him. If not, you definitely know IG-11 from The Mandalorian.
A final connection, kind of to do with the Rancor as well, is Bib Fortuna, who we have now seen two other places. He's the number 2 for Jabba, and so you see him in Jabba's palace, things like that. But we've also seen him more recently in the ending of The Mandalorian, where he is pretty quickly dispatched by Boba Fett as...
That's a polite way to put it, yeah.
Yeah, Boba Fett takes over the the Hutt Enterprise, it seems like.
I mean, he literally, if memory serves, it's been a few months since we've seen it. He shoots him and just like throws his dead body off the throne and
Yep.
sits down there. So
That's it.
So this is a character that, again, we've seen him on and off. Return of the Jedi, appearances in Phantom Menace, and in animated form, and of course, Mandalorian. So another character that is definitely a legacy character that's been around.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
My favorite part has to be when Sid tells Omega that she's clearly the only one with the brains in the group, because she's the only one that figures out that she is Sid. And my favorite part, though, has to deal with what happens afterwards, where as soon as they say that, Wrecker puts his hand out and for a little small high five for Omega. I thought it was very cute and a very subtle connection between the two of them. You can see they're clearly bonding the most, I think, out of the clones.
Yeah, which again integrates her further into the team as a general family and everything else. So oddly enough, my favorite scene also involves Wrecker. I have to say that, but it's Wrecker and Muchi when basically, so he's trying to subdue her because if you remember, they're trying to figure out how to stop her, and Wrecker's like, "What do we do?" And Tech's like, "Well, according to this, Rancor's like pack animals are responsive, whatever." He's like, "Okay," and basically, you figure it's going to be a fight. And I remember watching this, going, "Oh my god, are you going hand to hand with a Wrecker bare knuckle brawl, with a Rancor bare knuckle brawl?" Yes, he starts that way. The fact that it winds up with a slap fight, and you go to them and they're just slapping each other. He's like, "Come on, Muchi," and slap, slap, slap was just like I could not have predicted.
Yep.
And it was like, I mean, they could have played it for slapstick, but they didn't. Yep. And it was just such an awesome scene.
Yeah,
that was easily my favorite
very
part of the whole
very
episode. So yeah. So in terms of predictions, even though we touched on this a little bit before, I'm going to reiterate here that, as you were saying, that something's going on with Wrecker and his chip. So one of our predictions is they're going to have to deal with it, whether that involves going back to, some sort of infiltration where they go back to Camino and use the labs, or whether they kidnap a Kaminoan scientist. But something will have to be done, and that's going to turn into a plot point they're going to have to explore. And maybe that also turns into how they can get Crosshair back to some degree.
They find out how to fix Wrecker, and then they're able to fix Crosshair, hopefully, afterwards. My prediction is to do with Sid, actually, and I believe that Sid's going to be a recurring character now. Maybe not, every episode, but every couple episodes as a source of income. She's offered to them, come back anytime if you're looking for more work. So, they might fall almost into that, we said mercenary, but almost that bounty hunter, mercenary role.
That's true.
Maybe collecting chain codes, things like that from bounties. So we'll see how this turns out.
But until then, I've been Michael.
And I'm Brendan.
And never tell us the odds.